after the demographic information has been identified, you need to go in and specify 4 key pieces of information in order to be able to check a patient in. And that is the admitting unit, the appointment type for that unit, the reason for the animal coming into the hospital, and who the attending clinician is. So we're going to begin with admitting units. And you can begin by either typing in the name of your unit, or if you want to, you can also hit the drop down and you'll see a list of all the units in the system. We've got a couple wonky ones in our tested environment, but everything that is an active unit in your facility should pop into that admitting unit drop down. And then once you've identified an admitting unit, if you click the drop down on appointment type, you should see just the appointment types that are available for internal medicine. So these are all set up individually by your institution. So if your list looks wonky, you need to talk with whoever sets your system up. All right, so I'm going to see, Toby's going to see internal medicine as an inpatient, and the main reason is for, we'll say he has had 2 weeks of vomiting and diarrhea. All right, and then in the personnel, if you're adding yourself, you can hit the Add Me button. If you are front desk, which is probably the more common scenario, you can click the Add Personnel tab, and that will allow you to add as many or as few personnel as you choose, but you have to identify an attending clinician prior to checking the patient in. So if I go in and add myself, again, if I was just doing Add Me, I would just click Add Me, but I did this intentionally because notice there's no type that popped into the system. So a lot of times, if you have a clinician and the only role they ever play on a case is the faculty member, then that faculty is actually going to default into the type because they only have one type that they can be on a case. But if you have a person who plays multiple roles within the hospital, then the system is going to ask you to identify what role this individual is playing for this patient for this episode. So here I'm going to go in and I'm going to identify myself. In this case, I'm going to say I'm the intern. And the system, by default, for an intern or a resident, is going to ask me for my supervising faculty. And that's because, per request of many of our institutions, they track who the incoming funds come from, and they track those always to a faculty member. So this sort of provided a way for accountability to be given to who the supervising faculty member was. There was recently a request put in, and we are working on actually giving you an option to turn this off because apparently there are some institutions that don't want to do this, and so that will be an option in your hospital setup. But the default is going to be that that's turned on, and you'll have to go in and actually turn it off if your institution doesn't want to use it. And this indicator right here, because I've only got one person assigned to the case right now, the system's going to assume if the person is a certified veterinarian or has passed the boards, that they're the attending clinician, and that's what this little icon right here is for, attending DVM. And then the second icon, which by default is on, is that individual needs to receive notifications. So that's going to be when lab work comes back or other system processes are sort of driven by whether or not they've got the notifications turned on. And then you're going to save that information. And now, because I've got the 4 key elements that are required filled out, I can now actually check the patient in, and notice my check-in button is now active.